Hello, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here. Welcome to our event today, How to Talk to SMBs About DMARC. What you don't know can hurt you. So, as I've said, I'm Dan Tomaszewski with Everything MSP. Today, we're going to tackle a deceptively simple question. Why should small and mid-sized businesses care about DMARC? If your clients email invoices, quotes, password resets, they're a target. Whose customers don't do any of those? DMARC helps us stop those domain impersonations. It improves deliverability and increasingly shows up in cyber insurance and compliance checklists. So we're going to keep this pretty much non-technical and business first today. We're going to get into what to say, what to show, and how to get SMBs from never heard of it to policy enforced without breaking their email. So stick around for some practical steps, easy scans, and that you can run live, and some Q&A. So joining us is Dr. Ann Westerheim with Ikaru. I said that wrong. Ikaru, founder of Ikaru. So 20 plus years of helping the small and mid-sized customers, advisory board member, executive committee contributor in industry groups, author of Cybersecurity for Main Street, Cyberfit in 21 Days. So, Ann, you live in the trenches with SMBs, and you know the ins and outs of all the hustle and bustle and all the things that we're going to talk about today, right?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and in the trenches is a very good description of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things that no matter where we are in the organization, we're touched by what's happening in the trenches, and regardless of where our operational maturity is and where we are, as leaders in our organizations, we have to keep our hand on the pulse of what's happening out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much going on in cybersecurity right now.
And of course, AI is coming into the mix and making cybersecurity even more important. And but we're not going to talk about AI today, even though it's a big buzz term. But so a few things I wanted to get into, before we kick things off, is I gave a little bit of introduction of yourself. However, I'd love to have you give a little bit more, just telling us about who you are, what you do, and why you love doing what you do on a daily basis.
Well, I'm a lifelong technology enthusiast, and I started this company 20 plus years ago, and I saw there's a giant need for helping small and medium businesses actually adopt technology and leverage and benefit from technology. We've always been security focused, and so we've gone through a lot of different waves of, the traditional, more like the break fix model. We're here to help you, to manage services, cloud, cybersecurity, and got to get the mention of AI in there. Uh, we have a great team with us, and we pride ourselves on being friendly and helpful. We're educators, and really want to help make small businesses successful with technology.
Awesome. And of course, this topic is so critical. And what's with that being said, let's jump right into it. Let's go ahead
All
and
right.
let's kick things off.
Yeah, so with a lot of things in technology, a lot of the things we talk about are invisible, but when talking to SMBs about DMARC, what you don't know can hurt you. I gave a little bit of an intro a moment ago, but yeah, lifelong technology enthusiast. I actually started my career in the semiconductor industry. So I hold 2 patents in microprocessor development. Started a consulting company, thought I'd be doing that for a couple of years, and I've done it now for many, many years. Founder of Ikaru. I'm on the GTIA ISAO executive committee, a couple of industry advisory boards, and as you mentioned, I'm cybersecurity for Main Street. See the Main Street sign behind me, Cyberfit in 21 days, and my LinkedIn fell below on the floor there, but very active on LinkedIn and love to connect with folks there. Excuse me. So this is what we know as, when we're working in cybersecurity, we're working in technology, we see the headlines, we're super tapped into this, billions of passwords leaked, MGM, cybersecurity incident a year ago, Ingram had one just recently, HIPAA news. So we're seeing stuff like this all the time. And some of what happens is that smaller organizations, they see these headlines and they think, oh, good thing I'm not a big Fortune 500 company, so I don't have to worry about cybersecurity. But
Mhm.
all of us know that's not true. There's no
Yeah.
security by obscurity. Half of cyber incidents hit small businesses, and a lot of cybersecurity incidents are related to email. So we're living and breathing this every day, and we've seen the charts, right? It's going to continue. So cybersecurity, cybercrime, there's a lot of money in cybercrime. And as long as there's a lot of money in cybercrime, cyber criminals are going to come up with super creative techniques to basically steal our money. All right. But when we talk about this, it's the third largest economy in the world. So this is a really giant problem. And unfortunately, to a lot of small businesses, they think, okay, well, it's not going to happen to me. So as we talk about all these different headlines and the risk of cybercrime and all that, we start sounding like this guy, Chicken Little, like, hey, the
Yeah.
sky's falling, right? Gloom,
Right.
doom, danger, right? And a lot of our SMB clients will just tune out. Yep, yep, heard that, but that doesn't impact me. So, and then we'll come to clients and say, hey, well, we can fix this. And here's 10,000 different tools we can offer. And what winds up happening is we just generate paralysis with our clients, and they just get confused, they get overwhelmed. So it's kind of a big mess. They don't know what to do, and we're thinking, well, it's obvious, isn't it? And they're thinking, what are you talking about? I don't
Yeah.
know what to do. And then we get frustrated because I use this in a lot of my talks, but I have a hard time getting people to listen to me. And that's what we feel like as MSPs, like we're trying to help these small businesses, but we feel like, well, they're not listening. Why? And then the flip side of that is, gee, if there's ever any downtime at a customer site, boy, I mean, we'll hear about it. And I'm sure everybody's worked as an MSP, you get the phone call for like, we've been down like 15 minutes, it's a disaster. And yet they won't want to put multi-factor authentication on Microsoft 365. It's like this
Right.
total disconnect. And from our perspective, we're asking them to implement something that's maybe the cost of a latte a month or two lattes a month, but they can't possibly do it. So it's a big giant mess. There's probably a lot of frustration on both sides. And I think our mission is really to try to clarify things. And like, how do
Yeah.
you take all that information? I think we underestimate if you're living and breathing this every single day, you got to realize that not everyone we're talking to is living and breathing this every day. So that's where, how do we just simplify the chaos and get a clear message out? That's our challenge.
Yeah, and it is a huge challenge because let's face it, whatever line of business that our clients are in, that is what their specialty is. That's what they know, and they can talk to us, until we're blue in the face about what they do. And especially you think about maybe CPA firms or legal firms, and you think about the complexities of what their business is, and we have to put ourselves in their shoes and really understand that, the way we're delivering the message to them, it needs to have that clarity. It needs to be non-technical, business outcome focused. And, we have to read the room, look for the signs and see where, they're dozing off, they're deer in the headlights. And we have to know those signs, alter our message to ensure that we are, being articulate in what message we're trying to get across.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for all the folks out there, it's like, hey, I'm frustrated they won't listen. We need to think about, how are we presenting our message? Are we
Yeah.
presenting clarity? So that's our challenge. And we typically start is kind of bring people back. This is a framework. This isn't stuff that, Anne has made up, like, oh, you need to do all this stuff. Because it's
Yeah.
the NIST cybersecurity framework, which came into effect after it was a presidential order many years back now at this point, but just trying to get an agreement. So, NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, they decide, uh, you know, how what measurements are there, the word on different things. So they were commissioned to create these guidelines that folks could agree with. There's also the CIS controls, and I try to bring people back to, we're not just, this isn't Anne's opinion on what you should do for security. There's frameworks that really
Right.
help people realize, okay, this fits within a framework, so it's starting to make a little sense. I also like to talk to this about, as security practitioners, we need to view ourselves as kind of delivering a public awareness campaign. So if you think
Yeah.
about a public awareness campaign like Smokey Bear, the whole no smoking, buckle up, it's the law, click it or ticket, don't mess with Texas. That was originally formed to prevent people from littering all over the highways. It's literally don't
Yeah.
mess with Texas, and it's just grown beyond that. But you think they've taken kind of a complex problem and really made it simple and direct. And the other thing about it is, think of how much repetition you've heard from these different things. You didn't get one message one time that said, hey, smoking's bad for you, and that's it. Growing up in
Yeah.
school, you get health education class. Smokey Bear is, I just saw a TV commercial with him recently. Click it or ticket, you're going to see that all over the place on the highway. It's repetition, and it's delivering a clear, straightforward message.
Yeah, and I really I love what you're saying about that repetitiveness, because at the end of the day, I mean, let's think about how many times it takes for, from a marketing perspective, for a message to be in front of us for us to connect. I mean, we see commercials over and over and over again. And, if someone sees a commercial, a few times and you ask them about it, somebody might be like, oh yeah, there was a really cool dog in the commercial, but they didn't catch the messaging, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, be through that repetition, repetition's mother skill, it connects and it sinks in. And so we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, is it us? Did I only tell them once? Did I only educate them once? Or am I providing the right level of cadence to be able to get that in front of them so that it is connecting? And because we can't just say, hey, first off, can never say I told you so, right? you know of course, because they are the client, we're here to serve. But there are those situations in which we can't just say, well, I told them before. It's like telling your child something one time, in one ear out the other, and it's through that repetitiveness that they connect and they embrace it. But also, when you talked about the frameworks and we talked about regulations, you also mentioned that this isn't just Anne saying this, this isn't just my MSP saying this. We're able to play the good cop, bad cop, and also, like, parenting. We might tell our kids something, don't do this, and they don't listen to us. But then they're at a friend's house, and maybe their friend's parents say, yeah, I really shouldn't do that. And all of a sudden, they're like, yeah, that's really good. And when they hear it from somebody else, it's
Yeah.
like, for some reason, it becomes more meaningful sometimes.
Yeah, I think the light bulb goes off, or it's not just like, it's my annoying parent, or this is my annoying MSP trying to get me to spend more money. It's
Right.
the message, that light bulb, the connection, like you said, has to be made.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that one thing we can do, and again, it's trying to simplify that message, explaining how different cybersecurity elements fit into a framework, let us kind of create building blocks. Okay, so you can go in and get a win. Okay, we can't do everything. We can't boil the ocean in just one day, but let's pick something and figure out how uh, let's accomplish something. Pick one thing, and I think that's where I think DMARC is a great uh, challenge to address, because it's a building block. And then, okay, now we've built this, we can strengthen a little more with other items. And I think that in talking to clients, though, what we would say is, when we think of DMARC, right, domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. It's built on SPF, Sender Policy Framework, DKIM, Domain Keys, Authenticated Email, right? This means nothing to our clients. I put out the decoder ring there. They get really turned off. A lot of times I think that when we're using the acronyms, which is kind of shorthand because who's going to say these whole phrases out loud, but it will make our
Right.
clients tune out. It can make us appear to be rude or we're trying to pull the wool over their eyes. So we need to figure out how do you talk about this in a way because what they don't know, like the title of this, can hurt them.
Yep.
And so now getting back to, and you mentioned this before, we need to focus on solving a business problem. So do you want your mail to be delivered? Like when you're invoicing a client, would you like them to receive that invoice so they can pay you? If you're a nonprofit and you're doing the charity golf outing and you're inviting a lot of people, do you want people to receive that message so they can sign up and join your event and participate? So do you want your mail delivered? Well, that's yes. A
Yeah.
lot of business is done online. And then do you want to make sure no one can impersonate you, like send a fake invoice to one of your clients and steal your money and damage your reputation because they're going to be mad at you. And do you need to meet any compliance or insurance requirements? So, for example, if you process credit cards, PCI compliance will want you to have DMARC in place. So you start asking it like this, like, do you want to continue to be able to process credit cards? Like, yeah, we like to get paid. Um, that's something the business can understand, and that's something that so I hate the expression dumbing it down. It's making it clear and presenting it in a
Yeah.
way that people will actually relate to and listen to.
And the most important thing here is the most effective way to deliver this is from the start to deliver it in this, business outcome perspective. Don't don't try to deliver it in that technical way at first, and then all of a sudden find that you've lost them, and then switch it. I mean, if you have lost them, obviously you want to alter your message, but from the start, from the very beginning, focus on business outcome. In Because like these key questions here, do you want your email, or do you want your mail to be delivered? You start talking about that. Let's say you're doing that luncheon, and let's say it's an annual luncheon that's a fundraiser, and they count, as a nonprofit, let's say they're counting on that revenue to come in, that funding to come in. And if they're not, getting those emails into their inboxes, it's going to have a huge impact on their ability to bring in those funds. So right from the get-go, if you can capture their attention, you've got them locked in. Sometimes if we lose them, it takes a little bit to pull them back in. It can be done, but why not start from the beginning, capture their attention?
Yeah, definitely great advice because you'll get their attention, and we're trying to influence change because that's what we see. Like what they don't know can hurt them, and we're there to
Yeah,
help them. And in terms of the mail being delivered, so Yahoo, Google, and Microsoft will all block bulk mail that's not DMARC compliant. It won't get delivered. And
absolutely.
I remember, I don't know who coined this, but what's your favorite radio station? WIIFM, what's in it for me? And I don't know if
Yeah.
people listen to traditional radio anymore, but that's you have to if we're trying to influence our clients to do the right thing with respect to cybersecurity, we have to present it in a way that means something to them. And it's not okay for us to just get mad. Well, I told them, I gave them every acronym under the sun and they wouldn't do what I told them to do. Yeah, of course not, because they have no idea why it even relates to them. So I just like this phrase a lot. What's in it for me?
I like it. Yeah.
All right. So one of the things, within the Easy DMARC platform, and I like that it's just a simple, elegant solution, and it solves for something that's a real problem for businesses. And you can really start a conversation with this. So you could do easy scans. Just say, hey, where's this? Where are you at right now? So you can scan right from the platform to show, hey, is it green or red? This is our own domain. So thank goodness. we get green on that. But what a great way to start a conversation with a client. Just, let's just see where you're at right now. And did you know if you have a lower score, like these emails may not be delivered? Did you know you have a greater chance of somebody impersonating you and stealing funds? Um,
Absolutely.
and within the platform, I'm not going to do a deep dive in here, but again, what I like to do is really help folks figure out how do you make the invisible visible. So now you can dive in a little deeper with a business to say, well, let's just look at your mail flow. And these are just some general screenshots. It's not any specific data, but let's just see. Okay, green is good. People relate to that. So this is your mail volume. What's not compliant, and where might be there be a threat, like somebody is detected trying to send mail on your behalf. Now, if you have everything configured right and you have it denied, it's not going to get through to that recipient. But now you can start making some of the invisible visible. And we conduct a lot of business electronically. Looking through and uh, you can set without getting into a lot of technical detail, but the ideas you want to get
Yeah.
to is you don't want mail that's supposed to be from you to be able to get delivered to somebody when it's not actually from you. So the SPF talks about, for example, in a business, like we use HubSpot. So we have emails that come out from HubSpot, but they're allowed to spoof us because that's a platform that we use. And we have emails coming from our ticketing system, right? Other clients, they might have their line of business application where they're communicating with their customers, or they might be using a constant contact or MailChimp to send folks the invitation to the fundraiser golf tournament, right? You
Yeah.
want to set that up so that that mail actually is from us and we trust it. But if somebody's trying to send mail from us from some other random IP address somewhere, we want that to be blocked because it's not really us. And that's going to protect my reputation. And then I also, if I'm properly configured, I want to make sure that my mail will get delivered because we've set it up properly. And that mail, if I use a constant contact or a MailChimp or whatever, our ticketing system to send mail through, I have authorized that and I do want that to get delivered.
Yeah. And I do want to throw out here, we're talking about Easy DMARC's platform here. Today's session is powered by Easy DMARC, which is a multi-tenant MSP-friendly platform for email and DMARC security overall. And we'll get into a little bit more detail. And is a partner of Easy DMARC, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I just wanted to mention that what you're being shown here is the Easy DMARC platform, and they've got a great tool to be able to make this happen. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
Yeah, and this is another screenshot from the Easy DMARC platform. Again, these show your sending sources. So whatever sending sources you may have for your mail, it's basically you declare what's allowed and what's not allowed.
And there is a question out there, Chris, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Some users don't believe that they have an email delivery issue. To them, it doesn't relate to them. How do we even bring awareness that it should be their concern?
Well, I think a big part here is over the past year or so, a lot of the big players, Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft, have announced they're going to block mail that doesn't follow the proper protocol.
Right.
So you might send out 500 invitations to your charity event, and wow, you get no signups and you don't know why. That's the
Yeah.
kind of thing you could talk to them about. Or maybe you have a problem with slow pays for your invoices. Well, are people actually getting them when you think they're getting them? So that's another thing. Uh, that's a possibility. I think with the big players blocking the mail, now that's a giant audience that may not be receiving your mail when you think they are, or it's going in a junk filter
Yep.
somewhere.
And we can talk about this. I don't know if you want to cover this now, or I don't want to steal your thunder if you have this a little bit later. There is a scanning tool that is available to be able to do an assessment of a domain. Are you covering that a little bit later?
Well, I showed the one scan at the beginning, so you could do that, and then within
Okay.
the platform, and I'm not sure if I have a screenshot of that, but within the platform itself, trying to think if I have, um, I don't know if I show that in here, but you can run scans. So that's that conversation starter I was talking about.
There we go.
Like if
Yes.
you're
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, so when you run that scan, that's the conversation starter. Let's just see where you're at. So why don't I
Yep.
bounce back since that was a question on, yeah, oops, there it is right there. Um, I, where do you stand? So if you just scan any random domain for one of your clients, you're going to see a lot of yellow and red,
Yep.
pretty much. That's what you're going to see out there in the small business world. And this is just a really easy, you just click in the domain and you hit run from there. This is off the main Easy DMARC website. You can also run it from within the platform itself. All of these can be extracted as reports. I have a little screenshot on that one in a minute. But now, then when you get people set up in the platform, then you could show them a lot more detail about what's actually happening. Okay, the domains are, and
Excellent.
this shows like what is actually getting delivered. And this can show like, hey, this is not getting delivered or it's getting delivered to spam. So this gives people visibility. So I would say start with that first scan to show the general health. And then you could start diving in here when you get a domain set up within the Easy DMARC platform.
Perfect.
All right. And then the other thing, like, when we choose partners that we work with, we like to see a lot of enablement for our team. So there's training within here of, to make sure that, our team is up and running and can speak intelligently about it. Because as an MSP, for example, one of my techs might be working with a client. Somebody asks a question like, hey, I don't think this mail is getting delivered. The email's broken or whatever. I want everybody on my team to understand, well, let's check what's going on because that could start that conversation about, okay, I see this is something we need to set. This is something you need to add to your security stack with us. But I'm a big fan of like the entire team really needs to know how to understand how to talk about this because sometimes in the front line of defense, a lot of times people will just say, my email's not working. Okay, well, what does that mean?
Right. Right.
You want to drill into that a little bit. And I would say the scan is really the first thing that you'd want to do to get the conversation started.
There's another question. Kelvin wants to know about the correlation of this with business email compromise. Wanting to know if this falls under business email compromise.
Oh, yeah, 100. That's when I say impersonate. So, business email compromise, BEC, that's the word that we use, right? From a customer's perspective, how I would say it to them is that's when somebody impersonates you. So think about it. If a bad actor impersonated your brand, somehow figured out maybe through social media who your key customers are, because maybe you congratulate them on LinkedIn or whatever, and they send, that's going to, when you protect your domain, that helps protect your reputation because it, it, it makes it so that the folks can't really do the easy tricks to send out that
Yeah.
fake invoice. And if you think about it, uh, with it's very easy to triangulate on, just imagine you just congratulated, one of your biggest customers on LinkedIn. People can pick up on those signals and figure out who you may be working with, and they can send invoice. And this happens all the time, and it's really sad. Um, if you do suspect that if you're a victim of business email compromise, the key is to try to report it to the bank. You can report it um, online to IC3, part of the FBI. And if you do it fast enough, you can actually recover funds. But often what happens, it moves to one account and then it's offshore and then it's virtually impossible to get back. But if you look at the Verizon data breach incident report, they talk about 90% of cyber incidents starting with an email. Uh, Very devastating when money is just lost like that. They're locally here in Massachusetts, the Arlington School District lost $500,000 of funding to build a new school because somebody accidentally paid an invoice. It's a business email compromise. But that's impersonation. Somebody impersonated one of their vendors, a diligent accounts payable person just paid it, and boom, it went to a criminal.
Excellent.
So training the team around this. The other thing is, oops, and I covered up a little bit of the text here, but there's a lot of reporting in here. And I think, again, what they don't know can hurt them. What they can't see becomes invisible. You can run reports, and what I would recommend is assign a team member. Train them up on how you can run these. It's like a couple of mouse clicks, and you can get reports out to your clients. And really, I think it helps show value to your clients, helps it make it look a little bit real. Like, what is this invisible DMARC thing you're doing? Oh, here's what my report looks like. This is great, and I'm seeing my mail is getting delivered. I'm seeing it's all my trusted sources, and I see that if somebody's trying to impersonate me, they're not getting away with it. And these are, this I just showed like a little thing, a screen grab here, but you can export the data as a CSV file. A PDF is kind of nice. Folks who are doing QBR meetings, or I guess we're advised not to call them quarterly anymore because that's a contractual
Right.
obligation.
Right.
So our review meetings, this is a great thing to just talk about. And I like empowering people and telling them, like, look, you're ahead of the pack right now. You're addressing this already. There's other folks in the community who are not addressing this, and they're at risk for the business email compromise. And if it goes to one of their customers, they're going to be very mad at you as
Yeah.
as a business owner. Um, and then hopefully, showing a lot of green in here, but it's a couple of mouse clicks. So a junior person on the team, or maybe if a dispatcher has extra time, you can get these reports out, because I love being able to show value to clients.
And the key thing is, the good old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And our clients don't know what they don't know. And they count on us to be the experts and to be that person to help educate them about this. And, again, we want to do it in that business outcome fashion. Um, but the thing is, if we don't educate them about this and they run into issues, then we have failed them. We don't want to look past opportunities to ensure that, we're helping them to be the most efficient, productive, secure, and profitable in how they're delivering, whatever their product or service is. And, whatever their business is, their business. Technology isn't necessarily their business, but technology is a tool that helps them to accomplish their overall goals and objectives. And it's a moving target. Kevin added a great comment a little bit ago. Cybersecurity is always evolving. Plan with them on how to future-proof themselves so they can continue to not have problems. And the key word here is we need to continue to continue to one up, if you will, stay ahead of the bad actors, because as we become more smarter in helping to secure our client environments, bad actors are looking for ways in which they can get around that. And so what worked for us today isn't necessarily what's going to work for us tomorrow, and we need to continue to evolve in our security offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And we tend to think of it as like a 2024 plan for security, 2025 plan, and there'll be things that we want to introduce for the coming year as well. It's a cat and mouse game. So as
Yeah.
people get better protections, the criminals will come up with more clever techniques. You mentioned AI at the beginning, but it's so easy now to harvest information about folks, to kind of put together a picture
Yeah.
where people could maybe figure out who are your top clients, and be devastating to a business email compromise where your brand is impersonated would be devastating. And I think that we do need to be very conscious about explaining it in terms that, like, hey, let's help you reduce your risk, or here's something you need to know about. And we often talk about it, kind of meeting clients where they're at, like, to educate them. We don't want them to ever come back and say, why didn't you tell us?
Right.
We know not everybody can do everything all at once. We try to move them along. This is just a great way to have like a win against a pretty major problem, business email compromise, they can have a win for that and kind of build up that cyber confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, number one attack vector, this is information from Easy DMARC, but there's a lot of different ways that email is attacked. People are on email all the time. We're emailing invoices, all different types of information. It's the number one attack vector. Firewalls in place, a number of different things are in place to protect the system. Well, how do you get crime? You just have the criminal ring the doorbell and you open up the front door. That's opening that email, and you can run into a lot of trouble with that. So, yeah, we have to constantly have that conversation and also be very mindful that the acronyms and the shorthand that we know is not what's going to relate to our clients. So we're
Yeah.
here to reduce their risk.
So
And
let's
that's,
yeah, I want to jump in a little bit about
yeah.
your how you're leveraging Easy DMARC in your stack as a managed service provider. Is this something that you've included in your stack for your managed clients? Is it something that is an add-on for them? How does that work for your organization?
Yeah, so it depends a bit on what tier they're at. So for our, say we call them all-in clients, we just made
Yeah.
that part of our standard stack and we put the domains in there. Interestingly, what I'm hearing about from a lot of my team is that often the conversation gets introduced with the rest of our community when there's an email, there's a problem, something didn't get delivered or something's going on, and then we dig in and we find out why and say, okay, well, here's a solution that's going to help for it to add on to that. It's also a conversation opener for folks. If you're just talking to somebody new, here's a simple, like, let's just run a scan for you to see where you're at. And there's other scanning tools that we use, but I guess the thing is, it's like a concrete thing that you can have a win for, which I really like because it feels like you're
Right.
getting somewhere. We're actually making progress against the cyber criminals.
Right. Right. And how about from a foot and door perspective? Have you done any kind of events where maybe you've done scans at an event, maybe a chamber event or like a BNI? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, we should probably be doing even more of it, but we'll often like and if we're just starting a conversation with somebody, we can that we would offer to run scans. I'd like us to be more systematic about this because I'm really passionate about just to give an example, we were recently called in as boots on the ground for an incident response uh,
Okay. Oh wow.
exercise, and it was
Yeah.
they're a very interesting. This is a national incident response company. We were the boots on the ground, and this is a company was about a 20-minute drive from our office, so very close. And they had an absolutely terrible set. Like they had completely inadequate protections in place. Like none of this would have happened had they had the minimum protections. I'm thinking,
Mm,
how did they not know about us?
right.
And I think that's what a lot of MSPs like get involved with the chamber and offer the scans and because it doesn't really cost us any effort to
Yeah.
it's minimal effort to do, and it can get people to want like, oh wow, I've wondered why my mail's not getting delivered, or
Right.
hey, I know somebody who, yeah, they just had a business email compromise against them. A lot of construction companies are hit by that, by the
Mhm.
way. Or they read about Arlington School District or a local town here in Massachusetts, Franklin. A couple of years back, a town manager sent away taxpayer money, and you could see it made the local paper, and you could see the pain on the woman's
Yeah.
face. And I want to make sure that folks realize, okay, there is something you can do about this.
Yeah, and it's the beauty of it is it's not just something hypothetical. You're not just saying, well, this could happen. You're actually pulling a report, you're giving them some results, and it's something that's actionable that you've opened their eyes to, and that it is that conversation starter, like you said. And it's just a great way to just begin some dialogue about something that is critical and is in real life right there.
Yeah, and it's I think that building block approach. It's like, let's solve for something. Not solving for everything that's a risk, but
Right.
let's solve for this and get some success, get the win, and then build a conversation with the client. Okay,
Yeah.
what else? Hey, I heard about this from my colleague. What can I do about that? And I think that it's probably a reminder for me that I should be doing way more scans. But we look at these, we do the reporting. I think that it's a great signal to our clients that we're looking after them and
Yeah.
being able to show like, hey, this stuff's happening out there, but we're paying attention to it.
Yeah, and how about the situations? How about the reaction, the response that you've gotten from clients once you've put this in place and you've cleaned up and corrected issues that they've had? I mean, they've got to be grateful for that.
Yeah, well, one of the things is common situation. I'm thinking of one recent one with a law firm is that their marketing people just decided they were going to change their uh, bulk mail platform. I can't remember. They changed from one platform, but didn't tell anybody, and then they weren't
Oh,
getting deliverability. So that
oh no.
you could solve that problem then pretty quickly. So that's
Yeah,
because it impacts marketing. It's not just the technology department. It's marketing. It's your salespeople sending out quotes. If we use a quoting platform, for example, so our records have to allow that as a sender. So it impacts really every function of the business. So we can solve a problem like that. Um, yeah, you get to get to be the hero. You're solving a concrete thing that's going to impact the business,
right.
and they get it, and they understand, and they are appreciative.
In that that's a perfect example of why this is not just a one and done type of scenario where ongoing monitoring is so critical because it's not like you're like, all right, let's get all the DMARC in place and make sure everything's set and then we can close our eyes because you never know when something could change, especially in those cases where they've changed their mass email provider. And let's face it, those are things that IT doesn't necessarily get involved in because it can be a marketing function. Depending on the size of the organization, it might be some third party provider that is doing this for them and with their domain, and there's no knowledge of it. And essentially, all that money, then all the
Yeah,
time and effort and money that they're putting into those email campaigns become wasted.
yeah, definitely. And the whole reporting piece of it is very important. That's part of the standard. So if you look
Yeah,
at the NIST, uh, they call it best email practices, PCI compliance. You do have to continue. You are required to continuously monitor it for that reason. Things change.
absolutely. And and the other thing too that's great about this is an affordable solution that you can add into your stack or add on as a, like an a la carte perspective, especially for those break fix clients that you might have. And you have the capability of doing it however you wish. And also just the multi-tenant capability. You log into one portal and you see all of your clients, right?
Yeah, that helps a lot because yeah, it's one place to go. It's understandable, and I think also in terms of other MSPs out there that if you're trying to maybe this is the one product that you sell to a new prospective client, the one
Yeah,
victory, but that's your foot in the door to have future conversations as well. So it could be a building block just in and of itself. Like I've talked a lot about what we're doing with our clients and you know bundling in versus adding on if they have a smaller package with us, but also a net new person may just have this one problem to be solved. You come in, it's affordable, and now all of a sudden you're having a conversation about additional support or cybersecurity solutions with them. So
absolutely.
nice, yeah. It's a win all around.
And for all of our listeners, please take a look at EasyDMark. I did add their URL to the slider there, easydmark.com. And there's a trial available, so you want to take advantage of that. They have a great MSP partner program, and with that being said, any parting words that you want to share to our audience, Ann?
Well, I want to add, I love the team at Easy DMARC. So they're really great people to
Yeah,
work with. And uh, yeah, I think that as MSPs, we have to constantly be learning what's new out there. How can we help our clients? They expect us to be able to alert them, and not everybody's going to sign up for everything we recommend. We meet them where they are, but at least then they know somebody was looking out for them and told them about a way that they could help themselves.
absolutely. And I want to thank you so much for your time, sharing your experience about how you leverage DMARC in your MSP, as well as your experience with Easy DMARC. With that being said, again, thank you, and thank you for all of our audience listening here today. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Take care.
Thank you.